acknowledging Occupy was Keith Olbermann. And so I had CNN on, and I thought, can they ignore this? Because there are people in New York going by this bridge, and there's a huge crowd of people on the bridge, and the traffic is stopped. And I thought, is the news really going to just black this out? How can they get away with it? Because all these witnesses will have seen that the news totally ignored something huge going on. And finally, at the end of the day, CNN mentions it. And I said, okay, there, breakthrough. The news can't ignore it. It's too big. So then the news started covering it, and it wasn't long after that that the crackdowns came in. When the police went after all of them systematically, hardcore, and the media started, we had some really hopeful moments, like the Davis protest was amazing, with the students getting the pepper spray and the protest. That was really helping on the image thing. People were very, very sympathetic. And then the media,
Oakland and LA.
Yeah, well, when the media started its campaign against Occupy, they'd use the typical, demonization, showing any radical elements of it, and that cut off a lot of people. So the chats naturally went down as it started looking more like a fringe thing, because most people in the United States don't care to be fringy. They really don't. And
well, so I disagree with you on that. But go ahead.
When it started,
I think they want to be fringy. I can just tell you, as a New Yorker, the whole thing with what happened in New York is that people don't want to be arrested.
Yeah, I don't want to be arrested.
That's the deal. That's the deal with what happened in New York. People don't want to be arrested.
Right.
It's not a fringy thing of their ideology, because trust me, there are a ton of anarchists, some of them, this and the other, that would love to, take the streets down. And I think, I'm speaking for where I live, but I feel that that's the same thing in other areas as well. But it's like no one wants to be fucking arrested.
No, people here don't want to get arrested either, but in the Midwest it is a little different than in the East Coast or the West Coast. And there's a very strong conventionalism. So people don't like to be fringy. They like to be normal. And that's a really strong thing in the Midwest. You aren't going to get these extreme opinions as much unless you're in.
You're talking about what you're speaking to is kind of like what's going on with Moral Monday.
Yeah.
When they stand in line in the Capitol building. They stand in line to be arrested, and I'm like, sit down, break out a piece of chalk, do something. Don't stand in line to be arrested.
Yeah.
That's like the worst thing. I applaud what goes on in Wisconsin more than you know. I was a little, I really was pissed off, I'll be honest. Dennis Trainer put out a video and he said, well, Moral Monday sparked what's going on in Wisconsin. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I know Jenna, not that I know Jenna Pope, but I know of Jenna, you know what I'm saying? I know this young woman, and Wisconsin's been going on, and I know you're from there, long before Occupy even, hit the streets or anything.
Yeah.
And,
has been going on forever.
For a videographer to state that Moral Monday sparked Wisconsin really effing pissed me off. Because I know you guys are doing great stuff out there. I watched a video from Wisconsin, and there was a photographer, and I don't know who he is or whatever. He wasn't arrested, but he got right in the cops' faces. I was like, good for you, dude. He just did, that's what needs to happen. And Indy I'm not at my computer right now, but she was watching your stream a little bit ago. Indy's from Indigo Bounting. She is from there. I have such respect for what's going on in Wisconsin right now. You have no idea. And it's not just because Jenna Pope is a photographer there. It's great that Jenna's there because, push comes to shove, like we were talking about with Obama before, and his electoral process. If push comes to shove, she brings light to what's going on in Wisconsin. But I'm so impressed with what the people do there. I don't care if it's for an hour. What I like about what's going on with Wisconsin is that they don't, like, as versus North Carolina, is that they don't just sit there and stand in line and wait to be arrested. You know what I mean? They are in the face of these Capitol cops. Like how
what happened
I
in
love it.
Wisconsin is very similar to what happened in Occupy. So I will tell you, as I saw Occupy getting arrested and the protests dying down, I knew it wasn't going to resurface. I knew it wasn't going to happen. People said, oh, just wait till spring. When the weather's nice, it'll come back. Because what happened in Wisconsin, it was mirrored by Occupy. So if you know the whole history of what happened in Wisconsin, it's a little different because there was a
with the bargaining, you know, the bargaining rights and Walker. Yeah, I know.
But the protests were huge. When Walker first did that, it started with like the very first day, and I was calling on behalf of, you know, labor, which was new to me. All of a sudden I became an activist, and I was making phone calls and telling people to show up at the Capitol, and we were all calling. Show up, we're going to have, which we thought was a rally, and it would just be a normal size rally, just like any other rally. You know, maybe we'll get 500 people at the Capitol. And the very first day, 5,000 or 10,000 showed up. And they came back the next day. And there were 2 scheduled rallies that week, the first day and the second day. And they came back a third day. And they came back a fourth day. And it kept growing. And then people started coming from all over Wisconsin, not just Madison and Milwaukee. And then they started coming from other states. And pretty soon it was routine every Saturday. I work, so I went every Saturday. My family, it was a commitment. Every Saturday was protest day. And we went down there. The first Saturday we went down there was about 20,000 people. The next Saturday there was about 40,000 people. It just kept growing until we had 2 massive rallies with over 100,000 people right downtown Madison. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And it was spontaneous. And then we lost. We lost and we lost and we lost. We got the recalls. We got 2. We didn't get the majority. We went and turned it into elections, and it just kicked the crap out of us. And when we lost that Walker recall, when we lost that election, I knew it was over. I knew.
It's never over. It's never fucking over.
Temporarily. And I knew it was going to we were not going to get 100,000 people down there again. And people were saying, it doesn't matter. They have us coming and going. We can protest all we want. It doesn't do any good. We finally got the majority back in the state Senate. 2012 elections, they took it right back because of gerrymandering. We keep losing. Now what's happening in the Capitol? They were down to under 20 people singing. Those solidarity sing-along, that has been going this entire time. They never stopped. But it was dwindling and nobody talked about it. Nobody even knew they were there. I did. But, you know, most people did not know. There were these committed people singing 12 to 1.
Who's the live streamer? A female live streamer?
Yeah, I don't know. They have a channel. I don't remember her name. But anyway.
Yeah. She registered herself with Citizen Streams because if she's there, correct me if I'm wrong, are they there every day between like 12 and 1 or a certain hour?
Monday through Thursday, they're inside between 12 and 1, and on Fridays they go outside. And if there is a permanent event that's already scheduled, because they refuse to get permits, and one of the reasons is because
I know all about that. Yep.
They go.
Good for them.
Well, other people are listening, so anyway, they go outside, and they've been doing this straight. They've never stopped, but it was a really tiny group, and then Walker decided to start arresting them. And now we have 200 people showing up a day.
It makes me laugh because my girlfriend Sherry, who travels with Jenna often, and you know Jenna talking about what they do with what they, you know, you go down to the basement and they process you there, and holding the doors, the elevator doors. It's hysterical what goes on there from Jenna Pope's mouth. Of what goes on and how they screw with these Capitol cops. I think it's great. I just wish, you know, because I look at live stream a lot. I just wish that whoever's there, and I'm not saying that someone needs to make a continual commitment to be there all the time to live stream, and I just wish that, however, I just wish that someone that registered yourself as Citizen Stream so everyone could see what's going on throughout the country.
They have a site, so maybe we can just encourage them. I can go and tell them to put it on Citizen Streams. There usually is a streamer there every day. There's one girl that streams pretty much Monday through Monday through, I think it's Monday through Friday. And then there's...
She's not registered. I know who you're talking about. She's not registered with
No,
Stream Sound.
I don't think she is either. And Chaos is another one, but Chaos stopped going there, and I'm not sure why. Chaos does a lot of work with the homeless in Madison. She's a diehard activist, but she stopped going to the Capitol, and I don't know if it's because she has to work. Like, I can't go because I have to work, you know. And I don't want to get arrested. It's like you said, I don't want to get arrested. That's not something.
No, I hear you. I hear you on that. I just, you know, for me, the one streamer that was there was that. Oh, she was awesome.
Yeah, well, we could get
some of the people. It's so different. What blew my mind when I was not first watching, because I've watched Wisconsin for a while now, but when there were streams coming out of Wisconsin recently, within the last month or so, and I would compare them to what was going on in North Carolina, I was like, oh, I'll take Wisconsin any day of the week. Because
hardcore
people are so, they're so in your face, these Capitol cops.
But they're funny. They're funny. They're not aggressive.
It makes me laugh. It's like, you know what, that to me is what you got to be. You know, you need to challenge authority. And exactly what you were saying before about get a permit, I don't need no fucking permit. That just gives into the status quo and gives into everything that they're trying to pigeonhole us into. No, you don't need a permit.
And they're not aggressive and hostile. They're joyful. This is the thing I learned in Madison. I learned from the activists here. It's festive. They aren't mean. They aren't swearing at the police. They're handing them flowers. And they're still holding up signs saying, we believe in collective bargaining for Capitol Police too. And they delivered cookies to them when the Capitol Police filed a suit to keep their collective bargaining rights. They delivered a thank you card, flowers, and cookies to the Capitol Police, the same Capitol Police that are arresting them. And they do follow them around with cameras, and they are unintimidated, and that's what their sign says now. And they use humor, and they make you laugh. And that is invaluable. And one day they were outside, and because they do Fridays outside, and they were dancing, and one of their hecklers, regular hecklers that hates them and yells at them, was standing there heckling, and one woman just grabbed him and started dancing with him, and he was dancing and laughing. And and I said, how do you not love these people? I mean, they're happy, they're cheerful, they're fun, and a lot of them are senior citizens, and they're awesome.
Yes.
They're retired.
I saw that.
Just awesome. And all they do, I mean, seriously, my daughter went there last week, and she just went to observe. And she said, I couldn't believe how many old people there were. And I said, I know, because they don't have to worry about their job security. And she said, it was so powerful, it was so cool, and it was so inspiring. And she just couldn't believe how funny they were and how witty. Because they do.
You know what's powerful to me is that, and I saw this in a little bit of your protest in Wisconsin, is that I've seen in New York, I've seen homeless kids that have come from the most horrific of experiences that are sitting there talking to a cop and saying, no, you're not doing this to me. You know what I mean? They were able to empower themselves to say it doesn't make any difference where I come from, the fact that I'm homeless, the fact that I have nothing, and you have this awesome fucking job that you're making all this money and whatever. And questioning authority is the phrase I should use. Questioning authority, and I think that's what's lacking in our country, that people don't think that they have the ability or they don't have the right to question authority. And I see that when I look at the protests that are going on in Eurosunda, is, I see these people that are questioning authority. They're questioning some straight-ass, stick up their butt type of cop and saying no, or why are you doing this, or having a conversation, or anything. That's the thing that I love about this movement. You can call it Occupy, you can call it whatever you want. I call it radicalizing people that realize that they have the ability, that they have the right to question authority.
See, and I don't think it's radical. I think the police are being radical, and that's what they point out. So, like, they have signs that say, "Why are the police breaking the law?" Because they are breaking the law. And they have signs that point these things out. And they walk up to them and they ask them and they say, you know, why are you not following our state constitution? Look it, here it is. And they walk in holding pieces of paper by 8 by 10 with the Constitution and the actual acts that say why they're doing what they're doing is illegal. And so they're constantly...
Abby, they don't like that. You know, take it from a New Yorker and what has gone on in New York. And I know you know this, but, you know, I've seen it, like, that's, you know, when you walk down the streets of New York City, and you see a cop, or even me, I'm in suburbia, I'm on the island, you know, you're driving and you see a cop car, it's like, ooh, what's the first thing you do? You look at your speedometer to make sure, you know, you're like, ooh, you look at your speedometer and make sure that you're driving this and that and the other. You got two hands in the wheel, heaven forbid you have a cigarette in your hand. You know, it's like a police state. Everywhere we go is like a police state. And what I've seen from these actions, Wisconsin, Occupy actions that I've seen, is that these people that have empowered themselves all of a sudden to question the authority. I've seen it with the stop and frisk actions in New York that is, you know, young black kids that'll turn around to the cop and say, "Get your goddamn hands off me." You know?
I think a lot of times too, the reason people, you know, might get a little spooked when a cop comes around is probably a lot of times when nobody's looking, we do things against the law, like speed, run stop signs, or, you know, things like that. So when it's just like a little kid when their parent comes around, you know, we're on our best behavior, there's a cop, you know, don't be speeding, because if you do, something's going to happen. And if you're used to kind of like going a little fast because you can, because nobody's around, you know, then as soon as they come around, then, you know, you're aware. You start becoming aware. But police state, you know, I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Yeah, you do. You know, when you live in I know. From me, where I
could tell the difference from Denver and where we live now is when it comes to cops. In Denver, if you drive around the corner, there was a cop. And here, if you drive, you can drive around, you don't see him. And then when you do, it looks like they're just another car. Maybe because I was used to a white cop car, you know, for 58 years, I could recognize a Denver cop, you know. They could just be in the alley hiding, and I would know they were there. I developed a sense. So maybe that would be what a police state is. But on the other hand, you know, there's some bad stuff that would happen in Denver. And if you call a cop, they are there in a minute. I mean a minute. Because the way that they do it in Denver, because of, you know, a lot of problems that we were having, and I mean serious murder and serious stuff, not, you know, not some guy blowing his nose the wrong way, but some serious crimes going on, you know, in Denver. Denver was starting to get a little, you know, gangs were starting to get a foothold and things like that. And Denver's not all that big. I think it's got a couple of million people, but Denver proper, you know, it's kind of congested, and gangs are starting to get hold. Graffiti was a problem, and you know, people were shooting each other, you know, and shooting sometimes at cops. So they kind of had to take control of the city. So, you know, everywhere you would turn, you would see them. And after a while, you get a little paranoid. You know, you don't speed, and if you look down at your speedometer if you do see a cop, which I don't even know how I drove. I was looking at the speedometer all the time. But here in Florida, you know, I almost have to retrain myself. Like, you know, hey, they don't care. As a matter of fact, yesterday when we were driving around the coast down there, I was in the far left lane, and the turn I wanted to make, I should have been in the right lane, and there was a cop sitting right there, and, you know, before I knew it, I made the turn. And I figured, you know, in Denver, I would have been waiting for those lights. But here, nothing. I was shocked. I was shocked.
Well, I could see tons on Tampa, Florida, trust me.
Yeah.
I went to college there.
Uh-huh.
Back in the 80s.
Uh-huh.
And my sister lives there, and I know a lot about Florida.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, things I like about it, things I don't like about it. I could never live there. My mom calls it God's waiting room. But, you know, Florida's a weird bird, in my opinion, as far as the police state is concerned. But, you know, I live in New York. So, you know, I go by what I see, and I don't know what it's like in other states.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing is that, you know, we all live in different places, and so then we have, you know, different views of the whole world. I remember when I was growing up, I thought the whole world was like Colorado. I thought wherever I went, I could buy the food that I was used to in Colorado. You know, I was going to feel the same as I did when I was in Colorado. I didn't even know I was, you know, a mile high. They had to, you know, when the Broncos started getting big and they start saying, you know, you live in a mile high, and I said, well, you know, a mile higher than what? You know, I was used to Denver. So you think the whole world is that way. And then when I left Denver, I left Denver for the first time, and I went to Hawaii when I was a kid. And it was a shock that the whole world was not like Denver. You know, that people thought different, talked different. You know, it was, to me, it was culture shock. And after that, you know, I think you only get that culture shock once. After that, you know that when you go someplace else, people are going to have a different accent, a different point of view. You know, they live different, you know, and the systems are even different. You know, the systems here in Florida are way different than the systems in Colorado. Colorado definitely takes care of its people a lot better than Florida does. I can tell you that much.
I know that.
Yeah, they do a good, you know, and you wouldn't think so because actually Colorado is a Republican state. You know,
you know, I could go round and round about Florida. My sister lives there. My sister and my brother-in-law, they're in the medical field. They've been at Tampa General for, you know, years and years and years and years. They do extremely well. My brother-in-law is retired, and they own, not 2 properties. I think they own more now. But, you know, they've done well in Florida. And I have a niece and a nephew that were born and raised there. It's a lot different. I have 2 children. My daughter received a much better education than my kids, than my niece and nephew did. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I don't have a high regard for Florida in a whole host of ways. Did I love it when I went to, you know, I went to University of Tampa. You know it with the minarets because you're there now, so you know where that is. And then I moved to Daytona. I lived there for 2 years. I loved Daytona. But, you know, I woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm a New Yorker, and I couldn't stand opening the paper, and the first thing that I saw were, you know, ads in the first page. So I was like, okay, this is like not the real world. It wasn't the real world for me. I found it very backwards. I found it very, and this was many years ago, but I just found it very, you know, lackadaisical, very not in touch with reality of what was going on in our country. And I was raised a liberal Democrat. My mom was a huge activist, and I had to leave because I just don't agree with Florida.
Well, when we first moved here, you know, like I said, I spent 58 years in Denver, and when we first moved here, we pulled up behind a really, really nice car, and then I pulled up beside it, and the guy driving it, he had to be 80 years old. And I said, oh, you know, that's cool. That's cool. And, you know, no big deal. So then we kept driving around, and then I pulled up behind a real nice Harley, a guy on a Harley. I'm not kidding. He had to be 70, and he was on that Harley. And then I started to look around more and more and more, and everybody, you know, that's what it was like. I'm serious, like that movie Cocoon. I thought I couldn't believe how all of these older people in Denver, that if you were driving that car and that motorcycle, you're probably 30. And you were probably in debt up to your eyeballs. Here, you know, these people are driving all of this stuff, and I'll bet you everything is paid for. It's just a whole different culture. So, you know, when you would open up the paper, you would be trying to reach a different group of people. Here you're trying to get their money. That's what I noticed here when we moved here. That's all that seemed like. Everybody here was after the money. I mean, you couldn't hardly do anything, and somebody was knocking on your door to sell you something. When we first moved here, that's the way it was. The people wanted to fix the pool, and people wanted to kill the bugs, and it was just different things. Trim the trees, cut the grass, all these things. And I'm thinking to myself, well, doesn't anybody do anything themselves? Well, no, because everybody's old here. So I'm probably the only guy out there cutting his own grass. And
it's disgusting. Well, that's our culture.
Well, and
that's the thing. When I was a kid, when I grew up, my father cut the grass, and I grew up well. We never wondered for anything, but we were the first people on the block to have a pool, a built-in pool. My father still cut the grass. Now I have someone cut my grass. It's like, why is, I don't, Anyway, I'm going to sign off because my son wants to go to the car, in the car.
Okay, Sue, thank you for calling in, and, and we just want you to know that, we don't restrict conversation, and if you feel like calling me an asshole, you feel comfortable in doing that, and I don't have a problem.
No, I'll just call you out on your Obama economics. That's all.
Yeah, that'll be fine. But you just don't ever feel like like we're out to get you, or there's some trap, or
good God, no.
Yeah,
let me tell you something. I learned a long time ago that these live stream forums are chat rooms. It doesn't bother me. I don't care what anyone thinks about me. I put myself out there. You've known that about me you and I have been chatting for a long time in this room.
That's right, and and I don't think we've ever agreed.
Then that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
How boring would it be if everyone agreed?
It would be very, very.
Exactly. But there are some things and I've told you this before, there are some things that I'm very, very strong on. There are some things that people may call me extremely opinionated. I don't really give a rat's behind whether they do or not. Doesn't make any difference to me. But I will never allow someone to attack my child. Ever.
Well, you shouldn't. You actually shouldn't let that happen.
And I will call them. Goes out there to Chill Factor or whoever else. I know my stuff. I know what I do. I know I protect my son, and it will never fly in my book. The person that we're talking about they can deny it all they want. I don't give a rat's behind what the hell they do. I will protect my son.
Well,
never in a million years will I allow someone to get away with that.
Well, I know that channels can get pretty empty if there's no chatters, and it takes all kinds to make a good chat room. And if people agreed, that isn't a chat room. That's an education there. People are trying to teach you something. Chat rooms means let's talk. Let's talk about what we want to talk about, and if we have different views, that's the best chat room right there. People not agreeing, I enjoy that. Because you never know when you're going to learn something. You might be in a heated debate, and somebody will say just the right thing, and it can change exactly what you think. Abby did that.
Well, this was like we were talking before, like that came in, like that. It really irritates me. Well, this is why I take things under my skin too much sometimes. But the way that he's being portrayed and vilified and all this other upside and downside and GR or whatever, whatever's going on, I've seen it going, and you watch like I do.
Right.
You see how things go. And it really bothers me because this was a gentleman that well over a year ago that I had the opportunity to sit and have a one-on-one chat in, I think it was Hello at the time, where it was just him and me in there. And we were talking politics. And, you're getting it, sweetheart. The thing is that this was a person that educated me. And gave me the opportunity to listen from someone that had been there, done that, and I love that. That's what it should be all about. But unfortunately, things don't go that way. People form opinions throughout the chat room. To me, I don't really care. It doesn't mean anything to me. I love the fact that you had that on this morning, because I hold him in extremely high regard.
Well, we were pleasantly surprised, I have to say. It's nice to hear people's voices. So, like Abby and I were saying, you get a better picture that you're dealing with a person. Chat rooms.
I told you that when we first did OPN.
Right.
When we first started OPN, that was the whole thing. Let's get people on so we can talk to them, because I feel that in a chat, things don't translate well in chat.
Right.
That's just the fact of the matter.
Right. Yeah. So we will let you go and get about your ride there, and again, I want to thank you for calling, and I just want you to know that we appreciate it, and you're always welcome back anytime. You don't even have to make an appointment; just call in, and that's it. That's it.
Okay.
We don't even have a schedule.
Yeah. At least make sure.
Schedule? What's a schedule? My life doesn't run on schedules.
Yeah, just make sure that make sure we're on. Okay,
Bye.
thanks, Suze.
Bye.
I'm trying to get someone else to call in, but I don't know if anyone will.
Well, I hope not, because I've had it.
Have you had it? We've been on for a long time.
I've been on for a really long time. But if you want to continue.
No, I don't want to do it by myself.
Yeah, because you know what? Tomorrow we can do this again.
Yeah, we can, and I should probably help my boyfriend stay in the dock.
Yeah, and maybe you can dry the dishes, or I don't know, whatever you do over there.
Yeah, no, those are done. Now we're on the deck staining and dog walking.
Yeah, I would rather he didn't do those dishes like that, because then Miss Stars gets ideas, and you know what's going to happen then. I'll be doing dishes. So tell him to keep it down a little bit. He's kind of like, where he's gonna influence somebody, and then I'm gonna be doing dishes, and oh boy, that's no more chat room, no more nothing. I'm gonna be tied to the kitchen sink doing dishes and drying silverware and stuff. Get that spot off there.
Yeah. So she's telling you to now. It's time to do the dishes. Oh,
yeah,
she's saying. Dude, she said you? Dishes? Hell yeah.
See?
You just created it.
Yep. Tell him I appreciate that, and I can thank him.
I'm telling her that you're coming to do the dishes now.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess we're signing off. You're on dish duty.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the nice thing about it is I know there'll be a glass of wine in one of them dishes, so that'll be all right.
You can drink wine after you drank last night. See, I can't do that.
Well, actually, no, I was just throwing that in, just trying to keep the conversation going. That's no.
Okay, well, we'll call back in tomorrow, everybody. Come back.
Okay. Thank you, Abby.
Call in. Yeah, thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Tell the mister we said goodbye.
Okay, one of these days I'm going to get him to sing with me on the show.
Uh-oh. We're ready. You sing
we rewrote the song I'm Proud to Be an American from the Tea Party's perspective, so it's a spoof.
Uh-huh.
And we rewrote the words. It's pretty snarky, and it might offend some people.
Uh-huh.
But we're just making fun of the Tea Party.
Okay, well,
so we'd be happy to sing it for you.
Okay, and if you want to send me the words, not today, but if you want to send me the words, what I'll do is I'll put them up on the screen, and we'll do it like a karaoke and a sing along, and I'll make them.
Okay, I'll find the words and I'll send them to you, and you can tell me if it's too offensive. Remember, we're making fun of the people that would be singing it.
Okay.
It's not our point of view.
Okay. Okay, Abby.
All right.
You have a good night.
You too.
Okay, bye.